Hello everyone and welcome to the Crafternoon Box February tutorial number 3. My name is Tangi and today we're going to be making a floating layer card. So for those of you who haven't done one of these before, I have borrowed the idea from a lovely lady called Natasha Foote. I watched one of her YouTube videos recently and I really love the concept of what she'd done with the card. So I'm not sure whether the idea comes directly from her or whether she's borrowed it from somebody else, but as crafters, we're all about borrowing ideas and sharing them amongst the community. So I'm just going to check in and make sure that we've got good connections on Facebook and YouTube Live. So if you're in the chat, say hi, let us know that you're here. Yeah, hopefully we're all set to have a good afternoon of crafting. It's a little bit warm here in Melbourne today. It's been warm for the last few days, which is not to my liking. It's a little bit muggy. We are due to get some rain a little bit later today, so hopefully it's not too much rain, or that the cool change at least comes through before the rain hits so that we are not just sweating and gross. It doesn't do great things for our cardstock when we're in humidity, so it would be nice not to have that. Hi Tony, thank you for joining us on the YouTube stream. I hope YouTube's not playing up today. I know it was playing up a little bit last week and everyone had to kind of switch across to Facebook. So I try and hedge my bets a little bit by streaming on both sides of the social media spectrum. Hopefully that when one of them is playing up, the other one is behaving nicely. So we'll get to our excuse me, tutorial for the day. I'm really hungry at the moment, guys, so bear with me. I ordered lunch earlier. I went out and did a couple of jobs. I had to take some boxes back to a store that they'd arrived. I'd ordered them online. They arrived, and unfortunately, they had holes in places that were not going to be helpful to me shipping products to my customers. So I took them back. I ordered some lunch through Menulog, knowing that it would take me another 15 minutes to get home. By the time I got home, I could take a photo of the card that I'd made earlier today, upload it all for you guys, and then I could sit down for 20 minutes or so, eat my lunch, and yes, 45 to an hour later, the lunch still has not arrived. So I've had a couple of crackers. Hopefully that will get me through. I did not eat breakfast this morning, and that's my bad. So we'll see how Hangry Tangi goes today. Hi, Margaret. Thank you for joining us all the way from Canada. Lovely to have you. So guys, Margaret's one of our first international Crafternoon Box subscribers. So thank you for joining us, Margaret. I don't know what time it would be in your world there at the moment, but let us know. And let me know if your box has arrived so far, because I don't really know how the shipping is going getting overseas at the moment. I know it's horrendous getting things back to Australia. So we had an order from Gina Kay that has shipped out a couple of days ago from Chicago. So I'm just, kind of stalking the front door on the postman, waiting for the big delivery to arrive so that I can get some of your big orders out. But yeah, that's where my world is at the moment. So I am just going to switch across so that we've got the overhead camera on and show you all the goodies that we're going to be playing with today. So this is the layered floating card that I have made for you today. So you can see there's a little bit of shine going on between each of those strips of card, and you'll see that it's actually popped up on some foam. So it is actually floating above the height of the card there, and this little heart and the inset that I've done here is actually flat. So there's quite a bit of dimension going on this card, and I've pulled out a few of the little goodies that were in the shaker mix to just add as embellishments. So just showing you a different way to use those. They're equally as good in a shaker card as they are on a normal card. Margaret, 10 p.m. on a Friday, package has landed in Vancouver and cleared customs. Amazing. So it won't be long until it's with you. So you might have it before next week's tutorial, but you'll have 3 to catch up on in the meantime. So you'll have plenty of crafting to do. Great. So let's have a look at the materials that we're going to need to create this card today. Oh, and I forgot to mention, stay around for the end of the video today, because I'm actually going to show you a couple of sneak peeks of some pieces that I've gotten in for the April boxes, which are due to be launched this week. And I'll show you a bit of a sneak peek on those. I'm super, super excited about them. They're really beautiful. So things that we're going to need today is your offcut of acetate that you would have had in your kit from your shaker box. We've got all manner of different coloured cardstocks there that, again, came in your Crafternoon box. This is the Craft Weave cardstock. I've also got a little bit of the Couture Creations glitter cardstock, a little scrap piece of the black. This is, again, Couture Creations photographic black cardstock. I've got our rhinestones. I've got the little shaker mix bits that I had left over. So I only made one shaker card with mine, and so I kept these for this week's little tutorial. I've got some remnants of my sentiment strips, so as you can see I've cut them up and used bits and pieces of them, so I've got a few left there. I've also got the dies that we got in the Crafternoon box, so these are the Paper Rose Small Hearts dies, so the 3 lovely little love hearts. And as you can see, I've got some bits that I've already pre-cut. These were bits that I cut in previous tutorials, and I just cut some extras because I knew I would have them. Same goes with these little tiny strips that I've got up here. I've also got my craft scissors, again, Couture Creations. We sell those in our store. The Turbo glue pen and a little tweezers. That was just for my embellishments, so I don't have to fiddle with them. And I've also got, now you guys have previously received in your Crafternoon box the Couture Creations foam tape. So any foam tape will do. This is the one I've got. We do have some in stock and I'll be getting some more in shortly. And I've also got some double-sided tape. So this is just tear tape. So it's really tear it to put a piece onto a project. And there's 50 meters in a roll on that one. So it goes a really, really long way. We've got some of that in the store. If you haven't got any of this, you can use the liquid glue pen. It's just going to take your project a lot longer to dry before you can actually start doing some of the bits that we are doing. So you might get partway through the tutorial and you might need to stop for a little bit. And I've also got one of our Couture Creations white slimline card bases. So you've gotten 2 in these in your pack. So you should be able to make a couple of cards with this. Okay, so I'm just making some space in front of me because, you know, I've always got so many things on my desk. And yeah, it's all good. So have we all been well this week? It's been a little funny week because we've been half in lockdown for half the week and then out of lockdown. Today was the first day that I've been out of my house since lockdown. It kind of doesn't bother me. I'm a bit of a homebody these days. I don't really mind staying home. Now I'm just going to put my card stocks away because I'm just going to put them behind me. They're within reach, but far enough away that they're not on my space. Yeah, I kind of like being just hanging at home. So what you're going to do first of all is prepare some of your cardstock, and you're just going to need some strips that, depending on how wide your remnant of your acetate is, I'm just going to trim this piece down to approximately what I reckon you guys might have left after last week's shaker card. I think you've probably got about 5.5 inches left. 5.5. Whatever it is, this is a really good way to use up some of your scrap strips. But if you haven't got scrap strips for this one, then you might need to get some together. So all I've done is cut my paper cardstock into a different variety of strips, and I've got a different variety of colours. Now you may want to just do the same colour in different widths, or you might want to mix it up and do some patterned papers. I am going with a combination of different widths, different thicknesses, and different colours, just for kind of maximum impact. I'm just going to line these up for you and show you roughly what I cut with these. I think that's, no, kind of having trouble telling what widths I cut now. So I have cut these as, the ones on the far right here are 1/8 strips. These next ones along are 2/8 strips. This one here is 3/8, and then this one is a 1/4 inch. So 4. That's not right. Half inch. 1, 2, 3, and 4/8 of an inch is what I've cut there. God, let's not have the same debacle that I had with my maths last week. That was fun. Was it last week or the week before where I was trying to halve things and I wasn't doing very well at it? So once you've got your strips cut, and I've cut some of the glitter ones just so that I've got a little bit of, just a little bit of extra bling in there. So you can see I did just the one strip earlier. You're going to take your, pop those up there, get this in frame. So I've got my acetate. So I'm just leaving it as is at the moment. So I just wanted to make sure that the strips that I've cut will actually run the full length of my acetate and maybe even just have a little bit of overhang, and that's perfectly okay. So I'm then going to lay out, and I like to start with one of the thicker strips sort of towards the top and another one again towards the bottom. Now it doesn't have to be the thickest one in your bunch. I just find that it kind of gives it a nice kind of top and bottom feel. You'll see from this one that it has a little bit of weight to it. If I was to put a tiny little strip on the bottom, it's okay. It's just really fiddly to get it on the edge of that that piece of acetate, and then it doesn't. It may not necessarily work the way you're hoping for it to. But look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do a bit of a gradient of widths, but I'm just going to lay these out first of all so that I can get a bit of an idea about how things are going to look today. So if I go up, and I want to mix up my colours in between. Don't think I'm going to do a pink glittery one on this one, but I just want to lay these out. You just want to leave a good gap between, and you can leave more or less of a gap depending on what you would prefer. I think this just needs a little bit more of a gap. But I'm just going to lay things out so I can see how it's going to look. I think I'm getting a little bit too same in some of my colours. So I'm just doing a couple of each width, just for a little bit of a variety, a bit of an ombre kind of. It's not really an ombre. I don't really know what the term would be for it, but we've got a gradient of thicknesses going up or down the card, depending on which way I choose to flip it later on. Let's leave that up there for a bit of inspo for you. Hello, Miss Linda. Linda Hum is in the house, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Linda. I feel like I haven't seen you for a long, long time. Tony, you've been working lots. You are always working, always working. Okay, let's get into this. So what I'm going to do now is just take each of my strips. I'm going to flip them over one at a time, just so that I can, I'm just going to move this up a little bit too, because I will work a little bit closer down here where I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to get my double-sided tape. I'm going to just tear a piece off. For these kind of slightly thicker widths, I'm just going to put two runs of this tape on here. And pop that there. Now, Linda, I hear you have a new puppy. I think you need to post a photo to the Facebook page for us all so that we can see the new doggy. Linda already has a dog called Roman, and I forget what the new dog is called. I think Ben told me, but I don't remember. So many people are getting dogs at the moment, and I'm really upset about that because I'm not allowed to have another dog until we move house. So the house can't get built quick enough. So what I'm going to do, now that I've got the adhesive on there, I've taken the backings off. I'm just going to line this up, and I'm just going to pull this down a bit because I can't quite see all the way up there. I can probably see better on the camera. So just get that to the edge of my acetate. You can always trim it off if you don't get it quite right. Trying to keep everything straight, and just stick that down. Oops, got things coming apart already. And then we're just going to go down and work down each strip. Do the same thing, tape on the back, and away we go. And if you are Shadow, that's his name. His, her, I don't remember. I love that name. I know it's a black dog. I know it's a black dog. Yes, Tony's right. We would all love to see the dog. I've interrupted myself now. I don't know what train of thought I was on, but let's just put tape on things and stick it down. Oh, that's what I was saying about glue. If you're gluing, it's just going to take you longer because you're going to have to wait for the liquid glue to dry. And then the liquid glue on acetate is a little bit more fragile. So if you were to then bend the acetate too far, you're going to end up with a like some lifting of your cardstock. But for today and for this experiment, it's, whatever you've got is fine. And I'll show you as we get down to the narrower sections what I'm going to do with this tape, because obviously it's not quite as narrow as some of my strips. But I'll show you what I'm going to do when I get there. So for now, we'll just keep taping. Working helps pay for crafty boxes. You're right, Tony. You're very right. I'm currently doing a daytime job from home. I'm working in a call centre for a TAFE college here in Australia. So it's a higher education school for those of you, particularly Margaret, who's not necessarily familiar with Australian schooling. So it's once you've finished your secondary school and you head off to higher education, you might do TAFE. It's more of a technical and further education, I think. TAFE used to stand for. I don't know that we really use the term TAFE very often anymore. But yeah. Tony, you're going to get a dog when you retire. Ah, that would be lovely. I'd just like to retire so that I don't have to work day jobs, talking all day. It's good. Look, it pays the bills. That's the main thing. Margaret's getting another dog as soon as they're available. Is that because of COVID, Margaret? Is that like people aren't breeding and things because I guess you can't go and pick them up or can't go to the shops and buy from, not that I would ever recommend buying from a puppy store. We have laws against that here now, so I don't know. Don't know what's happening in Canada with dogs. So I actually find this really just relaxing to just put tape on strips of cardstock. And I actually was watching, I do watch a lot of other YouTube when I'm crafting, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. This morning I watched, Carrie was up ridiculously early. So Carrie was up at like 7 o'clock and she's on stamp camp at the moment. So she's staying at I think she said it's an agricultural college. And I think it's probably somewhere in New South Wales. And they're basically doing a couple of days of just stamping and going crazy and scrapbooking and stuff. And I thought, that is something that Papercrafting Australia has on the agenda for down the track. And we'll get there. But anyway, Carrie was up really, really early and she gave us a tour of the space that she's working in and all of her bits and pieces that she's taken to stamp camp. And I mean, she's literally moved, oh look, it's probably not her entire studio, but it felt like it. And I wanted to say, Carrie, I've got exactly the same tactics boxes, they're big black toolboxes for all my craft things to go in. So guys, this just were off topic with Carrie's discussion. What I've done with this, so I've got the two thinner ones and I said I'd show you what my little trick is. So I just pop them side by side on my work surface. so that they're next to each other. They don't have to be perfect, but you know, closer is better. And then I just lay the tape down across both of those. And then I'm going to turn them over, and you can see there's a little white strip in between, but that's good because it gives me a little place to put my scissors so that I can go along and just snip them apart. So that's my little handy hint for thin things. You can, of course, cut your tape and then try and apply it, but I just find these strips are so thin and fiddly that it's just easier to stick it to the back of two at once. And then I'm just going to gently, once I take the backing off this, because you'll sometimes get a little bit of overhang. So there's a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that, there's a bit of glue that's hanging off the end. So I'm just going to kind of push that back, fold it back onto the other glue, just so that I haven't got a daggy strip of glue hanging out on the good side of my project. So yeah, Stamp Camp looks like super fun. What a way to spend a couple of days, you know, having cups of tea and hanging out with people. And of course, now I've got a spare strip on the bottom that I don't have another small scrap strip that I need to do it on. So I'm just going to line up another random piece of cardstock and stick it on that so that I can get it fairly well covered on that thin strip, and that will kind of help hold it all down. I wouldn't know what to take to a camp. I'd want to take everything. I think that might be what Carrie went with. She's got all her die cutting machines and scoreboards and trimmers and you name it, she's got it. Cardstock, boxes. It would be pretty hectic, but I'd like to think that maybe if we do one down the track, I'll make sure that there's, you know, things provided so that not everyone has to bring things and we can all just share. That would be good. Where should we go? I know there's some that have been done on cruise ships, and I'm really excited about cruise ships. So I've done a few cruises now. I think we talked in one of my earlier videos about doing a cruise. Shadow is a he. Thank you, Linda, and thank you for the photo. I'm looking forward to having a look. So everybody, later on, the reminder post that I put up on Facebook a couple of hours ago or an hour or so ago now has a photo of Shadow in the comments. So if you want to see Linda's cute new dog, jump on there and have a look. And while you're at it, post a photo of your latest creation. I asked you guys to post photos last week and I got nothing. I got crickets. So, yeah, show us what you're working on. Show us what you've done with your Crafternoon box. Otherwise, I feel like you're just watching these and you're not enjoying things. Because if you're not making something, maybe it's not your style. And if I need to change what we're making, let me know. Okay. So just putting the last of my little strips on here, and I have managed to stay fairly straight, which I'm pretty proud of. So now you just need to flip that over and trim off all these little daggy bits so that you've got your nice smooth edge. We should have a smooth edge if you can cut straight. I'm going to blame the hunger for not being able to cut straight today. I'll blame anything for not being able to cut straight. I could put this in my paper trimmer as well and just hack that off. But, you know, why don't I just do it the hard way on camera? For your entertainment. Hello, Shazbot. You're late, but at least you're here. And the good thing about these is everyone can go back and watch it later on replay. All right, so just trimming these little bits off. There we go. Now, in my example, I've gone and die cut using the big die, just that little hole out of the middle. So now that this is all together and it's stuck, if you're wanting to do that, you can go ahead and die cut into the middle of that. So if I was making one pretty much the same as the last one that I've made, and obviously this is a different kind of dimension of acetate that I had created. So you could just go in, pop that on your cutting mat, pop this down, make your sandwich on top, run it through your die cut machine, and it'll cut the acetate and the cardstock. Now you may have to cut it, run it back and forwards 2 or 3 times. I think this one I did was 3 or 4. The acetate is quite thick. But I want to do something a little bit different with this one, just so that I can show you something a little bit different. And for this, I'm going to just grab my handy cutting mat. I'm going to get my craft knife and way over the back, my steel ruler. So what I want to do with this is I want to cut this on a diagonal so that I can split it apart on my card. So I'm just going to line up the 2 edges. And again, this might take a couple of passes, just depending on how crafty sharp, how crafty your sharp knife is. How sharp your craft knife is, and or how much pressure you put on. Beautiful. Ta-da! My craft sharp knife, everybody. Oh dear, I'm definitely hungry. So in the process of that, this little kind of tiny little piece has just popped off the bottom. I'll try and save that over here and see if I can fit that on in a moment. So that's what I'm going to plan on doing for this little card, is just to kind of give that a little bit of a gap, and I'll pop my sentiment across the middle here. And I am going to die cut down in this bottom corner. So let me just get these little bits out of the way. Tony, you've made some. You forgot to post them. Ah! Margaret, just be careful. Coming from Canada, my mum is probably going to ask you, do you know Celine Dion? Because she's a massive Celine fan. Okay. Oops, I don't really have enough room here. Let's see. There we go. Just to put this on. And now the tricky part is finding a good spot for this to sit, where it is going to cut into cardstock and not necessarily end in the middle of a piece of acetate. Not that that's a bad thing. I just, for the look that I'm going for, I just kind of want something to be, you know, bordered by some cardstock. So I'm just going to pop my sandwich down there and run this through. And because I know, oops, crack, crack. Because I know this took a couple of goes before, I'm going to go backwards and forwards a few times just to kind of get that done. Margaret, I know of her. Everybody's heard of Celine Dion. If you've watched Titanic, you know Celine. We went and saw her, how many years ago now, Mum? 6, 5? I don't know. We went to America a long time ago, and we saw the reopening night of Celine's show at Caesar's Palace, and it was bloody amazing. You didn't even have to really appreciate her as an artist to enjoy what was going on, but her live performance was just something else. She gives 195,000%. All right, so that hasn't quite cut through, even though I've done 3 or 4 passes. And so I'm just going to pop that back into the little slot that it's made. I'm going to give it another couple of goes. 2015, 6 years ago, nearly 6 years ago we went. It's time to go again. Hurry up, world. Fix your COVID so that we can go travelling again. would be nice. That'd be nice. That was a fun trip. Whoop, pop. All right, so most of this has come out. And sometimes it just needs a little bit of encouragement in the form of sharp implement to finish it off. But now I've got my sweet little hole cut there. And while I'm at this, I'll show you how to cut. So, you know how to cut the outside piece and you know how to cut the inside piece. I'm going to do this one a little bit backwards to the one that I did before. So I've cut that one out. With this bigger one, just to be able to cut the gap inside. So this works really well because you can cut, obviously, the piece that is going to fit in there, and you can cut the piece out using the same die. And that's just wiggled on under there. Stay still. I mean, I could put some washi tape on it, but I'm too lazy. Alright, that should only need one pass through because we're just cutting cardstock, and there we go. So now I've got an outside border that I could use with another piece of cardstock. And I've got an inside that I can match up if I cut another one out. So you'll end up with all kinds of little bits. And I mean, you might not use that bit, you might just use it as is. But there's lots of ways to use the donut holes of your dies when you're cutting things like that. It's exactly the same with, if you're using border dies or you're using two dies to cut, say, a circular shape, cut two and you've got the donut hole in the middle. Well, that's a sentiment strip that you can, or a greeting block that you can stamp onto and go for it. Alrighty, so we've got those bits. I'm going to inset these bits like that. And I'm going to choose one of the sentiments, probably happy birthday to you, just something a bit bigger. And I might put it up the top there. I might put it across the middle. I'll see how I go. Actually, I might put some little fun pieces in there. We'll go with that. So I've made this one overly complicated. So I've done particularly well at making that difficult for me. So with these acetate pieces, and if you've only got one piece because you've done it a bit more like the example card today, that's totally fine. You're just going to flip those over and grab your double-sided foam and tape just to give this the floating look. Ooh, so sticky. And just stick that on the back underneath the sections where the card is on the front, because you want to kind of hide it. No point putting it on the acetate and showing everybody how we do our magic. It's a little bit close. I'll just trim that back. Something like that. Okay, now I'm going to have some more fun when I get down to these little teeny weeny bits. So now this is where I'll cut just a small piece of foam, and then I'm going to cut, hopefully, just a really thin strip that can then sit underneath that one. And I'll just got to be careful not to stick it to your scissors. Just got another little skinny strip and pop it under this, just because that this bottom corner will be quite fragile and hard to kind of keep where you need it to be. Keep it popped up. There's not much else holding it down in the world. All right, so I've just trimmed just the little daggy edges back off there. Oh, what the heck. I'll put another. Go hard with foam tape. It's just tape. But you don't want your card getting crushed and being destroyed. Rini, hi. Thank you for stopping by. Popped in to watch for a bit. Can't craft yet. What's happening, Rini? Why can't you craft? I'd probably die if I couldn't just, walk into my craft room if I was so inclined and just wanted to go and do my thing. All right, so I'll just take the little backing tapes off the back of here. Oh, we're doing well for time. I just had a feeling that we'd been going for a little bit too long for where I was up to on the card, but I think we've got plenty of time. Alrighty, so I'm just going to line this up. I want to give a bit of a border that's kind of even all the way around, and this is why it's kind of good to, you know, use your straight edges and square shaped papers and cardstock. Nothing again to stop you from making the panel and using a circular die to cut that out. In fact, that's what Natasha did in her tutorial. So I'll put a link to that one later on so that you can go back and have a look at that one if you like. She did a great one that was a circular shape that went off the side of the card and she trimmed it off. It was beautiful, really beautiful. All right, so enough talk, more action, Tangi. Let's cut some more tape and get this panel taped up and ready to go. Made this a little bit wrong shape. It's gone over the cardstock, but I fixed it. A little bit of trimming. Okay, and away we go. Now with these bits, obviously because I've made a hole in things, you'll need to pop some tape either side of your die cut area. Twang. Do this. It's going to need to go on a bit of an angle to get around here. It's okay because that angle works really well on this corner down here. I planned it. I didn't really. It's just happy accidents. All right, so I'm going to cut this strip, and I know that I can get three pieces out of this, so now I just need to try and cut somewhat evenly all the way along. Yeah. Easier said than done, and of course when people are watching it's never the right way. I mean, this would be easier if the foam tape had a backing on it, because then you wouldn't have the stickiness catching on things, but it's fine. It's so fine. You just have to go slowly and gently and it all works out. Until you get other things stuck to your hand. Oh dear. It's a comedy of errors. Hello, Budgie. That's Polpetta, my Budgie. I don't know if you guys can hear her. She's really loud. I'll just cut this down one more time. I've got the door open. I don't like having the door open when I do tutorials because, you know, you can hear the TV from the other room or the bird or my brother's dog barking at delivery people. But because it's so hot and I don't have an air conditioner in this room, I kind of have to leave the door open. I've got a fan going under my desk, but it's still not quite enough. I'm not a warm weather person. All right. How are you all going with cutting your little bits and pieces, or are you just watching me struggle and having a laugh? You can do yours later. It's fine if you're eating your lunch and just watching, taking it all in. Most of the times if I watch a tutorial, I'll probably watch it twice. I'll watch it once and then I'll go, right, I guess I know how I'm doing that. And then I'll go off and start and then I'll go, hang on, I didn't really pay enough attention to that bit. How did they do that? So some of you might be like me and do it that way. Just going to trim that before the die cut hole. that small little bit there. Save that little leftover bit for later. Alrighty, so now we're back at my favourite job, which is peeling things off with no fingernails. This tape actually doesn't do too badly. Sometimes you've cut it with scissors and you've cut it quite forcefully. Sometimes you've kind of pushed it on a little bit harder. Yeah, really, the acetate really does give it something extra. Just that little bit of shine is really lovely. And it also just steps it up from being a plain old, here's some scrap strips that I put on a card. Although the effect is really nice, just doing scrap strips. We did one of those the other week. But this is just an extra element, just an extra dimension, being able to pop it up and give it a little bit something extra. Okay. So I don't know that I can resurrect this tiny little piece that belongs down on this corner, but I actually don't mind that it's not there. I don't mind it. What I am going to do is just get my bone folder, just burnish this edge a little bit. It's a little bit springy open, and I don't like that so much. I like it to sit flat. Okay, so now I'm just going to, no, I'm not going to do that. I am going to get my little inlays. So my big heart and my medium heart that I've cut out. I'm going to flip both of them over. I'm going to grab my liquid glue pen, clean out the top because there's always a little bit of gunk that lives in there. And I'm just going to apply just a little bit. Just on there, also on here. There's no rhyme or reason, just enough to hold it on. And then I'm just going to pop this through the hole because it's the right size. And I'm going to press it down to the card below. Now I've misplaced my tweezers. Where did they go, guys? Oh, here they are, over here. Because I just need to lift that acetate a bit. It's just a bit caught. Just pop that down. There we go. Oops, and I've stuck my fingers in the black one. So with the liquid glue, if you haven't got it right, you can actually give it a little bit of a wiggle in there. And then just pop your inlay into its spot. Tap that down, and that's that part done. So choose a sentiment. Let's have a look. Get my little trimmer. I'm just going to do happy birthday to you. Just a nice easy one for today. Something generic. Again, this is just a technique and a style. You don't have to only ever use pink or red cardstock. Just going to trim that little white edge off there. And get my little, this is just a little Kaisercraft black ink cube that I've got. It's always sitting on my desk. I don't know why, I just haven't put it away. I'm just going to black up the edges because I kind of like that finished look. So just tap that on. Leave that there for a second because this stuff generally doesn't dry particularly nicely or easily. And I'm going to put just some double-sided tape on the back of this one. I don't want to give it any more dimension. Yeah, sure, in a normal sense I'd probably pop it up on some foam tape. But because we've already got foam tape layers here, I don't want to not be able to fit it in the envelope later on. Oops. So I'm just popping that tape on the back of there. Yeah, that black's not quite dry yet, but we'll see if I can get this to play nice. that up there. And I think for this one, I'm going to grab a few of these little guys out of here. So in this packet we had red, white and pink clay polymer hearts, and we had some shimmery stars, sequins, and we've also got some of these little guys. You might not be able to see them particularly well on camera, but these are little 3mm rhinestones. So these are clear. They don't have a backing colour on them, so they are completely clear. So whatever you put them on, they are going to take on the colour that's underneath and just give it a little bit of a glitter shimmer kind of colour. Oh, those ones are stuck together. So are those. Here we go. Another one and a pink one. I might grab some extra little rhinestones too. Of course, these little stars get stuck on you and stuck on everything. Good old static electricity. Put a rhinestone, oh, on my corner down here. Put a rhinestone here. I could put a little love heart. That would kind of be cute as well. All right, what am I going to do with these? I think what I might do is just put them in a little bit of a pattern up along this top edge. Oops, missed. I mean, this again, no, I'm not going to do them there because that is going to give me extra dimension, which I don't want, because then I'll end up with things falling off in the envelope. I'm going to space these out and then pop some rhinestones in the middle. What do we think? I don't really know. What do we think? I actually think I like these better up here, even though I didn't want the extra dimensions. I just think they look better on a bit of a backing colour. All right, so I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to, first of all, pop some glue in between each of these, which is where my rhinestones are going to go. I'm going to glue those down. Ooh, making a mess. So you don't need much in the way of glue for these, but I am going to need tweezers to get these to go where I want them to. So this is glue, it starts white, it'll dry clear. It's what I used on this one earlier, so you can see that the rhinestones are completely clear. Flip these over. Oh, where did that go? Here it is. Twang straight across my desk. Come on. There's always one. Finger. There we go. Perfect. So now that I've done that, I can just take all these little hearts off and line them up in the order that I'm going to stick them back on. Let's get my glue. I don't know if you can hear that. Sorry, Ben's just singing a silly song to the dog in the background. Hopefully it's not coming through. There we go. Ooh, too much glue. It's a little bit. There. going all over the place today. All right, so now we'll just stick these down. Again, that glue will dry clear in a little bit. So we'll probably see a little bit of a blob hanging out from underneath, but that's life. That is life, my friends. Can tell when I'm concentrating because I don't chat as much. Oh, there's probably a few of you going, I wish you'd concentrate on things more often and be a bit more quiet. I'm just going to try and, whoops, wiggle these around. Get them to straighten up a little. That's probably about as good as it's going to get, guys. But that's just a different way of doing it. No, Sharon, he wasn't singing Cheeky Little Crabs. We'll have to fill you in on the new song that we've got. Oh dear. I'll tell you the Cheeky Crabs story another time. So they are the 2 floating layer cards that I've done for you today. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of inspiration to go on and create other things. A card by itself, so don't discount the little scraps that come out of things. And don't forget to share your photos of your finished pieces this week. That would be really, really good. But what I'm going to do now, while you guys are finishing off in the background, I'm going to move these out of the way. And I'm going to show you a couple of the things for the April Crafternoon box, which is going, it's on sale, you can buy it now. But we're going to launch it this week. I haven't picked a day yet. It might be Tuesday, it might be Thursday. Part of it depends on how long it takes for some of my supplies to arrive, because there's a couple of things in the Gina K order that I really want to show you as part of the kit. So I don't have those today. But some of you will have seen during the week these little projects that were my samples that I have made. So these are layered monograms. There's 6 layers of cardstock. So there's a black layer, a craft layer, a layer of a colour from Kaiser Craft called Biscuit, another one called Oatmeal, the white layer, and then the gold layer on top. So as you can see, there's foam tape between them all, and they're quite heavily layered. They're fairly thick. Now these I'm planning to do for you for the April kit. So once you've ordered, I will then, once the orders close, I'll email everybody and ask you what your preference of letter would be so that we can make the right one for you. And these will be something that I will give you a recommendation for frames that you can put them in. So any shadow box frame would be fine. You just need to make sure that the inside dimensions, we're going to need to be about 6 by 6 in order to have a little bit of space around the outside. Just make sure on that big R. Yeah, it's a big one. There might be some larger letters, but that will be something that we will be working on. So there's those. And then the stamps and dies that we're getting for April are these little cute mosaic ones. So these are Couture creations. So there's the this is the floral one, and this is the leaf design. So we'll be doing some stamping with those. And there is also a coordinating die that goes with the floral design. So we're going to be playing around with those in a few projects. I've got a very fancy folded triangle gift box that we're going to be making, and we'll probably use some of the die cuts in those. But I just wanted to share a few of the little things and get you a little bit excited. You know, you guys are my subscribers. You deserve to kind of know what's coming next month a little bit ahead of everybody else. Even though, you know, we may sell out of boxes this month. We've only got a limited number that we can do. So we're only, I think, 5 off being able to be sold out. So the subscribers who are already part of it, you are already guaranteed a box for next month. So you just need to stay a subscriber for the 7th of, what month is it? March? Next month. Yeah, so the 7th of March we'll be billing everybody for your April kits. If you are not already a subscriber, jump in. You can jump in now. You can jump in after we launch later this week, depending on what you want to see come out of the rest of the kit and the colours and things like that we'll be working in. So we'll be sharing that with you all a little bit later this week. Oh, what have I done? Go back to this one. So I want to thank you all for joining me again for today's tutorial, and I look forward to spending time with you guys again next weekend. It's 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday. Next week we're going to be doing the Rolled Flowers shadow box. So bring your patience. It's going to be quite fiddly, lots of little roly to do. It may end up being longer than an hour. I may do some of the prep work beforehand just to make sure that it's not a really long, laborious tutorial, because a lot of it is going to be rolling the flowers, and you know, once you've kind of seen 1 or 2 of those done, you kind of know how to do it. So that is what we're going to be doing next week. Later this week we'll launch the April Crafternoon Box and Card of the Month kits, so you'll see what is coming in those. Please like the tutorial down the bottom, give it a big thumbs up. Which thumb is in the camera? Not that one, this one. Give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you want to be notified when we upload new videos, and don't forget to post some photos in the Facebook page. You can pop it on the general Facebook page, Papercrafting Australia, rather than the private group. I'm having a little bit of trouble with Facebook, isn't everybody, with accepting people into that private group at the moment. So I do apologise if any of you are waiting to be accepted there. It just won't work. It won't let me hit the button. Keeps coming up with an error. So just post them to the main Papercrafting Australia Facebook page, and we'll go from there. But yeah, other than that, I will let you all go and enjoy the rest of your day, finish off your projects, and enjoy. I'm going to go and eat my lunch. So thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.